Guys, welcome back to Quad Shot Podcast, episode number 3. If you tuned in at episode number 2, we appreciate you guys. We didn't really throw out too much advertisement on that episode. We kind of just let it go. And we wanted to see the analytics on it and see how it did with just like a, no
just start putting it up on YouTube.
Yeah, didn't do well.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we want to
backtrack then.
So now we're here, episode 3.
Episode 3, guys.
Today,
made it to episode 3.
We're here.
Today we're talking about relationships.
Whether that be intimate,
romantic, friendship. Sorry,
friendship, family.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right?
Yep. Any of them.
Anything. We're just gonna kind of. We're gonna stir the pot a little bit. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna get going. So, how do you want to start this off?
I got a question for him. Guys.
For me?
For Ado.
Let me have it.
Ado, what is, if you're going to sum it up, maybe, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but...
Put me on the spot.
Maybe give me a few things that, I guess when it comes to relationships as a whole, right? Like, romantic, friendship-wise, intimate, professional relationship. A few things that you've kind of learned about just relationships in general throughout your years, and what if maybe a few things that maybe some key takeaways and maybe lessons on
let me graze like a
cow. Graze like a fucking cow.
Okay, so I think number one thing with any relationship, whether that be intimate, whatever, professional, friendship, I think communication is top of the food chain.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to communicate.
You have to be able to communicate. Go ahead.
Okay. You have to be able to communicate clearly with that other person in order to have a healthy relationship, no matter what that relationship might be. I think that's very important. So that's kind of like, I don't know.
That's number one.
That's so important.
To create a symbiotic relationship, a functioning, working relationship that's healthy between two individuals, whether that's romantic, friendship, work, professional. Communication, transparency, honesty is super, super key, okay? That is bottom line.
I think that's a good takeaway and that's like your, what's that thing called? The Venn diagram, the 2 circles?
The Venn diagram. I used to learn about that in
school. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah, that's that middle part right there.
That middle
communication.
Part. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That translates through any relationship in your life.
Remember doing those fucking Venn diagrams at school? Those things sucked.
No, they're good.
Oh.
They're good. Yeah, but I think communication is really important.
So that's one. That's a huge takeaway with any relationship. And I think, we're not telling you anything you guys don't know, but I think for us, I asked him his key takeaways through any relationship he's been in or, been through. That's key. Yeah. That's what makes a stable, functioning relationship. And you've got to communicate, because if you don't communicate, it leads to, maybe passive aggressiveness from one side or people shutting off and not communicating. And then,
like that wall.
Yeah, that wall. Out. And then miscommunication. Yeah. That leads to, fights or arguments or so on and so forth down the road. So it's like, it's really, if you care about that person, and you want to see, that friendship or romantic relationship last, then you better communicate with your honest feelings and thoughts, because that's the only way to do it. And you've got to be true to yourself. And, even lying, I think, on your conscience just creates that.
Well, it depends on what type of person you are. If you're an honest person and you lie, then that's going to sit with you and stew with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to feel that.
You're going to feel it. And it's going to impact your day-to-day and how you connect with and how you talk to that person, and it's going to come out, and eventually that person's going to be like, hey, what's wrong? And then you're going to have to get it off your chest.
Yeah.
You've got to keep your conscience clean and clear. That's number one.
Yeah.
Dude,
I like romantic relationships, intimate relationships. Like I used to be like pretty internal, you know what I mean? Not very communicative. Like I'm much better now, but I'm not saying it was awful, my communication, but there were times where I would put up that wall and I would ice out, and it always led to eventually it comes out. You know what I mean? Eventually.
In some form
how
of fashion.
You're feeling. Exactly. But what's the point A to point B? Like, did you guys like, did you not talk about it right away at first, and then you got into a massive argument and fucking shit hit the fan, and now you're there and you need a couple days to air it out, and now you're talking about what bothered you?
It's like, why don't you just talk about it, be up front. Skip those fucking steps. Don't be immature, don't be childish, man. Be straight up. We're all adults here, or at least not, I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times in my life that I haven't skipped the steps, and I've gone through that, ringer, kind of. Yeah. You learn. That's how you learn to communicate better, because you realize
you go through it. You're like, this is a vicious cycle.
Yeah, like you have to be a little vulnerable. You got to be a little bit open. You got to communicate, and that could be like me and you. You know what I mean? Like if you fucking annoy the shit out of me,
it happens.
Yeah, and vice versa. You tell me, I tell you. You know what I mean? We kind of skip those steps and like.
We break bread right there.
Yeah.
We don't carry it with us because it's not. There's no point.
No point.
Life's short. Enjoy every moment as much as you can. Yeah. To address something like that's bothering you might suck in the moment for 5 minutes, but it's better than spending 2 days being passive aggressive and mad at someone, wasting your moments away just being pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, that's what we got for key takeaways for relationships. I think. Do you want to maybe
There's one of them?
One of them.
Yeah. I mean, what would be one of yours?
Great question. I think one of mine to keep, not even so keep friends around, but or romantic partners around. I would say, man, it's funny. I think just being honest and transparent. I think that covers a lot of the bases.
Yeah,
it fills in a lot of gaps, and I think that's the number one in any relationship. So if anyone's watching this and can take away anything, just it might feel like intimidating or like, damn, I don't want to be honest with this person. I don't want to tell them this. I mean, you don't have to tell them everything, like, what you did, every little fucking detail, but you've got to be honest, you know? And I think that's the key. I think what we're learning in the moment now, just talking about it, I think, like, with any good relationship I've had, friendship or whatever, like, it's just been open communication, and we just hash it out right there. So that's number one. But yeah, and I think a key takeaway, like you asked, like I think, fucking, that's one of them. That's a big one. And I think when it comes to other key takeaways from relationships, do you want to do what, romantic or just friendships?
It depends on what you want to dive into right now. I mean, there's similarities and there's differences. Compared to that like Venn diagram. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's things that translate like through both. And I think being in an intimate relationship is like also having a best friend, but then it goes to like a deeper, different level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. When intimacy gets involved, like it just
things
becomes,
can get wild.
Yeah, it gets deeper and
especially, dude,
you're more intertwined and like you're like, there's a lot more emotions and there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
Front.
I mean, dude, think about like middle school, like. Kissing girls, you know what I mean? Like, you're just kind of like, or even like elementary school, I don't know, like, I had my first girlfriend in, what was it?
Fourth grade, brother?
Mrs. Seymour. So I think it was fourth
young. Grade. You started them young.
Well, Sarah T. I left a note on her desk, you know what I mean? Yeah. I said, do you want to go out? With a yes and a no, and she circled yes. And
attaboy.
It's funny, you know what I mean? Like, you start there, like,
yeah.
That realization of, like, oh, like, I'm into it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because for a while there, you're growing up, you're not really thinking about those things. You're more, like, imagination. You're kind of, like, whatever. You're finding, like, innocent curiosities about life when you're young. And then it starts getting into, like, oh, now I'm into chicks, you know what I mean? And, like, things start to, like, twist and turn a little bit. And, like, that might become, like, a bigger focus for you now.
Yeah.
Because you realized all of a sudden you're like, oh, dude, I like these.
Yeah,
these girls.
It's like it's like once you realize that, it's like a whole new ballgame. It's like,
yeah.
But this is something that I just thought about. Like, yeah, people call it a game or, like, you learn the game and, like, of dating or whatever, but in my opinion, like, the most healthy, best relationships, like, they're not games. Like, you don't, there's no game you play. Mm-hmm. People will play games with you, and that's just, that's not as exciting as people think it is, or whatever. In my opinion, like, advice for me in general, like, just number one, relationships. Let's talk about, okay, so we're talking about romantic relationships now with girls or anyone as guys. Like, I think what's worked best for me and just in general is just being yourself. Never swaying from who you really are or like changing who you are, your personality, or how you talk to someone just because it's a girl and you're romantically interested in them. Like, you've got to be yourself at the end of the day, because when you put your head on the pill, like, you've got to know, like,
well,
that's you.
There's
you know?
levels to that shit. You know what I mean? There's levels to that shit, because the reason you might shift or change, that's probably based off like a physical attraction you have for somebody else. But they're like a different type of vibe. So now you're changing yourself or your vibe to fit into these different scenarios so you can surround yourself more with them, maybe have them look at you in a different way.
Yeah.
Then, you know, and it might feel weird. It might be like you're out of your...
You still got to maintain true to yourself, though.
No, I'm agreeing with you,
Yeah.
but I'm saying like the reason people do that is usually based off like that first initial physical attraction, you know. So now,
For sure.
yeah.
But
so now it's like, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I 100% agree with you. You're going to attract the people in your life that are like the best puzzle piece, as long as you stay true to yourself. Because if you are staying true to yourself, those types of people are going to come into circulation now.
Yeah,
those puzzle pieces.
It's kind of like
you know what I mean?
I know this is kind of generic word but like manifesting. Like, if you're true to yourself, you put good energy out there, like, and you attract what's meant for you, what your true self, you know, is what meant for you, and what's the best. Like, if you're your true self and you're your best self, then you're gonna get that in return. That's what I believe.
Yep.
And I think staying on that path and staying on the straight and narrow, and never really swaying from that and being too, I guess, fake or trying to be someone you're not. I think that's the best formula for any romantic relationship, and from my experience, what I've found.
Yeah.
And I think you can overthink things a lot too. And I think for guys, like for me in the past, like I've overcomplicated and like thought too much about like I got to do this or that. Really, just talk to them like a normal human being. Girls are fucking normal human beings. Like, they're just like us. They have emotions. They have feelings. They're shy. They're scared. They're timid. Like, I feel all those emotions sometimes, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
Like, just have a conversation with them. Start it out by a conversation. Like, just start simple. Just be easy and just like see where it goes. And if they don't like you, then they don't like you, and move on. If they don't like you for who you are, then great. They're probably not worth your time. You know.
Yeah.
So I think that's
it'd be interesting to have a girl in this conversation right now to kind of give their perspective on it as well. I bet it's like I said, that Venn diagram, it's probably similar, but like they might be able to, because we're very like we're men, we have, you know, it's different,
our own perspective on things, but it's
I wanted to say something what you were saying in the beginning. Oh yeah, so like there's a fine line of like swaying from what's true to yourself and staying on that whatever straight and narrow, like you said, but then there's the difference of like getting out of your comfort zone, allowing someone else to introduce you to new things and trying new things. Like, that's really important too, and that's not necessarily you swaying from what's true to yourself.
True. I agree.
That's like so important, because if you allow and you're open to someone else showing you these new things, and like you're accepting of someone else's lifestyle, and you're able to like disagree in a healthy way, or like allow someone to show
that's how you grow.
Right. And that's so cool to experience with somebody else too. Like, hey, I love doing this. You've never tried it. Do you want to come like try it out?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's how you become closer. And like, I think even with friendships.
Yeah.
That's how you become closer as friends. Like, you do stuff together, you get out of your comfort zone together, you learn that human, that person, and you know what you can not even benefit from each other, but yeah, like a relationship is supposed to go two ways. Like, it's both ways. It's like, what do you gain from that person? What do they gain from you?
Yeah.
And then you work together to kind of create this friendship or romantic relationship, this beautiful life together. That's how it is. I know what you mean. But you're not changing who you are.
Yeah.
You're just getting out of your comfort zone and learning to live, you know,
with curiosity.
And excitement with that other person in your life during those times. So
yeah.
That's
the
friendship
perfect
and
example, dude. Sorry to interrupt you. Perfect example. Before we move on from that topic, is how we became close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You never tried surfing.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, basically how we became like we've known each other for a while. We grew up playing
soccer together,
against each other.
Graduated high school together.
Graduated high school, we were friends, but we weren't very close. You know what I mean? Like, we could talk shit, but, you know, we were like acquaintances.
Yeah.
But then after high school, like, one day I was walking down the beach and I had my surfboard, and I was with one of my surfer buddies, and
I said,
Roman
what's
comes
up?
Yeah, he said, what up? And he was like, oh, yeah, I always wanted to try surfing, this and that. I'm like, oh, let's get you out there. I go,
Yeah.
this is...
And it's funny how worked out. Can I say that?
Yeah.
It's funny how it worked out because COVID. I went back to school that year. COVID hit, and I came home and I was working. I was doing school from home, and then you were at home. You were on Cape.
Yeah.
So it just kind of worked out. Like, then we just started surfing a ton, and it just evolved into this great friendship. So
Right, and
it's funny how it works like that.
Your curiosity to something that's new to you and wasn't you at all.
No,
you know what I mean?
Dude, I played baseball my whole life.
Exactly.
Like,
that had you had no relationship with. I mean, with the ocean, of course, you've always
love the ocean.
growing up on Cape Cod, but
but
that's
never
something
surfing.
you've never tried. So
No.
your curiosity for something that was more my department allowed us to grow
As friends
in such a wild way, and then that branched off to all these other things.
Other different avenues, which is very unique and cool, and that's similar. Romantic relationships, like that's how it starts. And you just gotta kind of just take a leap of faith, as corny as that sounds, but like, go talk to someone. I mean, what's the worst they can say? Is no, or I'm like, So, I believe everything falls into place, and like I said, if you're on your straight and narrow, you're true to yourself, you have good intentions, like things will eventually work out. But yeah, dude, we were always cool and friends, and played soccer growing up together. Freshman year of high school, played soccer together, and then we were cool. But I was always playing baseball, and I lived in Chatham, and but yeah, we were kind of in different friend groups and stuff, and it's cool how it evolved. But it's funny how as we're doing the segment, I'm just thinking about the similarities between friendships and romantic relationships. It's like
that fucking Venn diagram.
Yeah,
I'm
dude,
telling you,
it's
that middle
crazy.
ground is big.
Yeah,
it is.
And I'll get pissed off, and I'm like, yo, I don't like this, or then we'll just we'll hash it out. It's like, you got to be straight up. Like, it's not worth being mad for 2 days, and like I said, being passive aggressive. Like, that's no way to live a life, you know. And yeah, man, that's cool. Fuck, bless you.
There you.
But yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's but I also think though too, like back to your point about relationships, you're not. But I think what I've learned is like when I overthink things, like in a romantic relationship with a girl, like, and I'm like, oh, should I say this? Should I say that? Like, what do you think? Like, I overthink too much, and it's just like, I'm just gonna be myself.
Yeah.
If they don't like me for who I am, then they don't like me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be true to myself, like how I talk, and that's kind of what I don't know. This is how I feel. It's like, I'm not gonna go like bite my tongue and lip and not say something in front of like a romantic partner and then go say it to like you or someone else. Like, I just believe in like being who you are, like saying funny phrases that I say, and if they don't like it, then I maybe stop saying it around them. But like, I don't know, just like. I just think for me, like personally, in my past, I overthink things a lot, and I think I'm kind of done doing that just because I got to be who I am.
Yeah, it gets weird.
It does. It's a fine line, but I think like there's certain things that I've learned to not say and all that. But I think just banter and wise and just in general, just saying certain stuff, like it's hard for me to not like, I've had advice like, hey, dude, you probably shouldn't say that. I'm like, all right. I mean, that's just me. It's not negative or like it's not like the worst thing possible. It's just like I'll say like a random funny thing, and I believe in like not stopping doing that just because you're with
someone. You gotta that comes back to changing who you are. That comes back to communication and the lack of communication. You have to not say something because you're in front of a certain somebody. It shouldn't really be that way.
No. Yeah, so I was pretty much saying that you've got to be yourself. Bottom line, that's how you attract the most compatible partner for yourself, I believe.
Puzzle piece, yep.
Yep. And yeah, I think that's what I learned throughout my romantic endeavors with women.
So I have a question for you.
What's up, brother?
What do you think was the most impactful personal experience in your life, any relationship you've had? No, actually, I'm going to go intimate. I'm going to go intimate. What was the most impactful? You don't have to say names or like, just like something you took away from a situation that might have seemed like very hard or negative at the time, but out on the other side, now you can look at it and be like, holy shit, like I'm glad I went through that. It was tough, but I could take this away from the situation. you know?
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a big one. I know you're gonna come back at me and ask me the same question. I will share, but I have to think of it. I mean,
I would say this might sound so corny and cheesy,
yeah,
but like, love's blind. Like it covers up, like when you fall for someone, or like it covers up so many like things of that person that like you just accept. But like hindsight, like when you're out of that relationship or like you're not with that person anymore, or like hanging out with that person, you realize like how many red flags I just skipped over and just accepted.
Now, do you think that the red flags are skipped over because you just wanted someone, the physical attraction was too deep to the point where you ignored all these red flags?
I think that was it. I think it's easy to ignore those red flags when like most of it's good. Like, and the experiences are good, and like I think at a point where you just want someone at the end of the day.
Okay.
And I was in that kind of phase where it's like, you know what, I was just like in a state of, it was nice like having someone.
Yeah.
You know, each night to go back,
right.
to go back to, and that's the cool thing about a relationship. But I think my problem was in this certain scenario is I dove in too fast. And there's a lot of things that I should have vetted a little bit before this.
Right. Take note of this. Okay.
Take note of this. Okay, this is what happened. And, I think definitely like completely, I'll throw myself, in the line of fire here. But I definitely like, there were some things where like I wasn't fully respected enough. I think.
Respectful or respected?
Respected.
Okay.
But also there was things in my, like I learned a lot and grew a lot too. Like certain things like, in terms of women, like things you probably shouldn't bring up at certain times, like just in terms of like dealing with a woman and like what kind of they go through. Like I think, they've got a lot on their plate, like in general, just like their anatomy or everything, and I think like just to be conscious of that, it was a good reminder for me to be like, okay, put myself in their shoes. What are they dealing with?
Yeah.
And like I probably should. It's not that I was being insensitive, but I was saying things at a time where like maybe not at the right time, So that I think that's a big takeaway for me. Like that's noted going forward. And then another thing I learned was, like I said, like just going. I jumped in too fast and was like, give me all of it. Let's go. Like I dropped everything pretty much. And I was like, let's go. And I think hindsight, that was not a good move. Because it resulted obviously in ending where I would have. Yeah. And just a lot of things that I took away and learned from it, like I guess would be just take it slow. Yeah. If that person really like wants to be with you, maybe my insecurities, I was like not forcing her to like me, but I was just like, let's do this, let's go here, I got that. Like if they really like enjoy your company.
Wait, sorry to interrupt, but I want to go back, touch on what you just said. So you felt like you wanted to make these definite plans just to secure
like a next step almost in hanging out.
Right.
And like it
and that's insecurity, obviously.
It is because like
you feel like that makes you sit more comfortably with knowing that like
okay, I've got this plan with her, I'm doing this, we're doing this. And obviously it worked, like it was great, like we had a great time, like, for what it was, but it was fine. It was a good learning experience more than anything. Obviously bumps and peaks and valleys with any I guess relationship or whatever it was. But yeah, I think just to take it slower, and I think like part of my insecurity, like completely honest, came out, and I was just like, I just tried to maybe not make her like me, but make her want to keep seeing me.
Yeah.
But it was kind of subconscious, and it was like, I should be more confident in myself, like when it comes to situations like these, and like because I know what I bring to the table, and I don't say that in a cocky way, just like when I devote myself to someone or I give myself. 100%.
Dude, it's not cocky. You're 100% right. Yeah. And this falls along in the lines of like, if you stay true to yourself, you're going to attract those puzzle pieces because you have to know your value. You have to know your worth.
In life.
You have to know, like, you can treat somebody like a princess or a prince, whatever your thing is. But you can treat them like amazing. But if you're not getting that in return, you're not receiving your value.
And
Someone isn't like upholding
reciprocity.
So you have to have a baseline. You have to have the bar set for yourself and how you treat yourself, how you view yourself, how you love yourself. And if someone doesn't meet that fucking line, meet that bar, and then surpass it, it's
not worth it.
What does that do for you?
Yeah,
you have to be that for somebody else. And that feeling, providing that for somebody is very special. That's a very good thing. You know what I mean? But if someone isn't doing that for you, then what is the point?
Exactly.
You know,
and I think that was great because I'm still working on myself. I still am trying to work up and be the best self I can, be my best self, you know, and honestly, like, I'll take blame. I probably wasn't not that I wasn't in a good state, but I was just like, I wasn't as evolved yet, you know, in terms of my everything. Like, I'm trying, you know, growing to be the man I am today is so different than what I was back then, you know, and I learned a lot. Like, it's all good things. Like, you know, I think for me to take the positive out of every situation, but there's certain things that I did take from it. But yeah, like,
you have to go through those shitty times. You have to throw yourself on the sword afterwards to be like, yeah, dude, like,
I fucked up.
I did this wrong. I did this wrong.
Yeah.
But I see that. I can, you know, see it for what it is, and now I know in the future, like, I am not gonna do that. You know. That's the only way you learn, by fucking up. Or, you know, sometimes, like, you can see it in someone else. Like, that's why, like, your parents' relationship's, like, super important. You know what I mean? Neither of us really had that. I mean, separately now, like, they're doing
their own thing.
But, like, the people, like, our biological parents, like, we didn't really get the chance to, like, see them have, like, a flourishing relationship, which is honestly super impactful in my opinion, to have a baseline of like
of what it would look like.
This is how a man should treat a woman and vice versa. So now you have to kind of take that into your own hands and think, now you have to make all these mistakes. Now you have to put yourself in these relationships because that's what you want at the time. That's what you crave. That's what, you know, and then you're gonna fuck up. You're gonna be with somebody that isn't that perfect puzzle piece. And you're gonna keep growing and building, and then finally, once you meet your person, like, you know how to treat them.
It all comes together.
And you know how they should treat you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's all like fucking piling up and that's life, brother.
Yeah, that's life. You know that's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, overall, like, there was, like I said about this certain situation or whatever it's called, little relationship I had. A few takeaways, like I said, is that don't jump in too fast because you really never know what you're getting into. It takes a long time to get to know someone. Mm-hmm. And I think another thing for me, which was, you know, I think I've healed that part of me, but the insecurity about, you know, am I good enough or is this, you know, I think everyone thinks like that, but, you know, I'm just being honest. Like, I was, you know, had these second thoughts or guess, like, is this right? Like, do you think they'll hang out with, like, all these things that you can come up with in your brain, like, you know, when you're hanging out with, like, a significant other, like, just you can't, it's one of those things that as you get older and as I get more confident, like, you learn to just deal with it, just not pay too much attention to, because it doesn't result, it results in you taking action on those thoughts and trying to force a relationship rather than just like being in a healthy, not saying it wasn't healthy, but just a relationship that is really, you know, reciprocal, like, from both ends. Like, I give this, she gives this. You know what I mean? So I think those are the good takeaways.
And you know what? She probably has takeaways from it too. You know?
For sure.
And you can just hope that other person, like, we're having this conversation now, if she's talking to it about, or talking about the situation with somebody else, you can only hope that she throws herself on her sword.
Yeah.
With the things that she did wrong. And then grows from that, because, you know, you want the best for that person. You know, and you want them to grow and evolve as a person. Like, you don't want them to, you know, so, like, you just hope that
life's too short
live and let be, you know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, like, yeah, it's you at the end of the day. You know, you're not going to be able to be in a healthy relationship if your shit's out of whack.
100%.
You know?
And that's what I realized, too. It was a good growing lesson for me. I'll harp on that again. Like, it was a good learning experience for me. Just the whole thing, from day to day, you know, living with another person, like another human, like another significant other, like, there's a lot that goes into it, you know, and it's challenging at times. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand, and like I learned a lot from it. I'm a better man because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I hope she's doing well, and yeah, it's all love at the end of the day, man.
100%. And
Yeah.
dude, like, I'm not in a relationship now, but in my past relationships, like during when it's good, like there is no better feeling. Like
100%.
you have somebody
You can confide in.
it's your
Yeah.
best fucking friend.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's your best fucking friend.
Yeah.
You can tell him anything and you want to tell him everything.
Just because it's like your
You
person.
know, it's your person.
Yeah.
And you love getting that perspective back, like from them. You know what I mean? And like, what's up?
Back to my first point, and then I'll let you go because I
Yeah.
got to ask you the same question.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so awesome when the feeling's so. It almost like I said, love is blind. It's just like you dive in with this person, you're feeling all the serotonin, all these great emotions. Like, oh, this is so fucking great. It makes you over. You still gotta have a piece of yourself in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still gotta be able to take a bird's eye view, 30,000 foot view, and be like, okay, this was disrespectful. This person said this, and address it instead of just letting the things pile up because.
Well, it's easy to get lost in the sauce.
It's easy to get lost, like when you're having such a good time, and it's like you just want to tell that person everything and do everything with this person. Like a lot of things can get swept under the rug.
That's how the red flags get ignored.
Yeah. So
You know?
and you see a lot of relationships you can kind of see the writing on the wall. So I mean, probably between her and I, like her friends, they probably were like, this is. I don't know how long this is going to last. And rightfully so, right? Because I wasn't the best version of myself that I need to be in that moment, and she just wasn't my person. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, man, great learning experience. And now I'll flip it on my guy over here, Ado. What was it?
Well, I was basically just saying, like, when you have that person, when you have that sidekick, and, like, during, like, my life, I'm not with these people anymore, but during that time, like, there's nothing better.
True.
You know what I mean? You're taking on life together, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, you come home to each other.
Humans
like,
are...
If you live with each other, like, you're like, you have this, like, flow.
Just flow state, man. You're like, do this. And then you just have a routine, and you love to love that person,
Sometimes you butt heads, you know.
But that's
what I mean?
okay. You work through it.
You work through it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
if you want
to, it's truly such an amazing thing. But there are some kind of common ground, to do it in a good, healthy way, and that goes for you, and that goes for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, every relationship's different. Every person's their own individual self, and like the two people come together, it's going to be different. But there are things in common, like communication, like stuff like that. Like that's going to help you. Like a simple word, communication. That applies to every relationship ever. You know what I mean? That's important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
so that's great insight from my counterpart over here, Aiden. And that's awesome. I really appreciate you saying all that, because I think that was perfect segue. Let me ask you the same question. Let's segue into kind of so you asked me that, I answered kind of what was the biggest learning lesson in terms of a romantic relationship for me.
Yeah, you had a good answer.
I mean, red flags. It's easy to easy to
sweep them under the rug.
Easy to sweep them under the rug when you're falling for someone, when you fall for someone, and then take things slow.
Yeah.
Don't jump into anything too quick. Get to know that person, because it takes a long time.
Yeah.
For you, if you're going to pick one thing to take away from, I mean, you've had a lot more relationships than I have.
Right.
But in terms of like one thing that you take away, like from those, what would that be?
Both of your points are really strong and true and important. But I also think it's really, really important to get yourself in those positions. You can't be afraid to start the relationship. You can't be like, go and like experience these times with people, because like I said, you have to know how your heart breaks to build it back together.
Very true. That's a very good point.
Like you have to shatter your heart to find the pieces.
Yeah.
And you're not going to know what that's like unless you do it. You know what I mean? My first long-term relationship, my heart was like exploded.
Yeah.
I was sitting here picking up all the pieces, and I had a good support system. Like, you know, like people helped me through it, my friends, my family, whatever. And I'm grateful for that. But you need to be in those positions. And then once you're out of it, don't start talking about it like it's a wasted time and, oh, I wish I never got into it with that person because this and that. Like, no. You were with them for a reason. You said I love you for a reason. So don't now push it back.
Hindsight,
down.
just trash and be like, that was nothing.
No, that's not even how it is. Take it for what it is. You have to find those positives. You know what I mean? You have to find those positives. You have to find the takeaways. You have to find the growth in that situation, because what else is it without that? That's how you're going to be, in the next relationship. That's how you're going to be better. That's how you're going to treat yourself and somebody else better. So don't be afraid to get in the relationships. Get in them. And, if your heart shatters, build it back up. But remember how you built it back up.
But don't jump in too early.
But don't take it slow. I think going slow is very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
But once it gets to that point where you see it being a substantial relationship, what your point is, just to clear things up, you're saying go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
You have to be able to, have the confidence and be
in
with
yourself.
That person. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's really important to have
That's
the
a great
experiences.
Point. The experiences, because you just... Yeah, you're going to learn so much about yourself through those times.
Yeah, I mean,
you probably have. That's how you learn about yourself and relationships and people in general and life.
Yeah, dude.
So many life lessons that you can just take away from a romantic relationship. The ups and downs, the persevering with someone. The compassion, and empathy. That person brings out of you. And
I'm not trashing one night stands either. If you want to do that, go ahead. If that's what you want to do it. But there's going to be a lot less growth and things to take away from that. I guarantee it.
100%. Then an actually committed
relationship. That person you just got into.
No, it happens, dude.
It
happens. We're young.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit up here and lie like it doesn't happen, but yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important to be with someone connected like that. And
for sure.
Lose it and then rebuild it.
Yeah, and valuing that connection, because everything's better when when you connect with that human being, you're on the same playing field, you're in sync with them,
Yeah. And dude, don't get me wrong. I've been the guy who's been after the relationship and but that's why I can say this now, because it didn't help me in any way to talk shit about someone I spent a lot of time with and truly loved at that time. And it's all love still, but I've been there. I've been the guy that's come out of a relationship, and at the other end, I'm kind of
whatever, yeah.
And now it's I learned so much.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Each one's different too. That's the cool thing. It's you can pick bits and pieces of each little relationship or situationship and be okay, this is what I learned from that. I didn't like that this person did this.
Yeah.
Where can I? And you've got to be self. You're gonna reflect on your behavior. Mm-hmm. No one's perfect, and what I love to do is sit back and be okay, Ronan, where could you have done better? What went wrong because of your maybe actions, or what did you say that sparked a certain emotion that wasn't beneficial to that other person? Mm-hmm. And I think being cognizant of that is really important as well.
Yeah, taking responsibility for your own actions.
100%. That's the biggest thing. That's how you grow and learn, and you've got to have some humility and be humble.
Yeah.
Enough in a relationship.
And dude, people need to hear that validation too. You're in a relationship. You maybe make sure you tell them hey, I know I did this and it made you probably feel like that. Did it? Ask them how did it make you feel.
Goes back to open
communication. Because that's communication. You know what I mean? And you gotta take responsibility for your actions, because the other person might need that validation. Yeah, when you did that, it fucking sucked. To
get over the hump.
Okay, it sucked. If I do it again, call me out on it, and we're just gonna work on it. We're gonna
exactly, dude.
Yeah. So honestly, dude, I feel like we covered a lot on relationships. We got. We went broad, we went in, we went personal, we went intimate, we went, friends, whatever, we covered.
It was a good episode.
It was a good episode. We're probably 35 minutes in now. That's usually where we cut it off. So, relationships, episode 3. I think it went awesome. I appreciate all your perspectives, bro.
You as well, brother.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Good shit.
And again, guys, thank you for tuning in.
Please subscribe, Quad Shot Podcast.
Yeah, what do we got? Quad Shot Podcast.
And follow our Instagram, Quad Shot Podcast.
Instagram, YouTube,
Quad Shot Pod, obviously.
Quad Shot Podcast.
And
TikTok. I think we got 2 views on that.
2.
Come on. But yeah, appreciate everybody supporting. Let us know what you guys think. Maybe give us throw some comments down there and think I want to hear this. What you guys think about this? Maybe some
DM
episode
us.
ideas.
DM us what you think. Give us our feedback. Anything, man.
Yeah.
This is
Some
great.
feedback. Blanket on the table. We removed that. We got a lot of feedback. Let's get that fucking.
I was
blanket
petting
off.
it too much.
We got rid of it. But
Yeah.
episode number 3, relationships. Appreciate you guys. Quad Shot Podcast. Ado and Roan. We're out of here.
Done deal.